意兴隆，身体健康，然后在我们卖康的楼花这方面有更大的成绩。我们今天呢，请了 Condo Marketing 的老板江森来跟我们讲一讲，就是他们公司的新年的一些项目。我认识江森呢好多年了，那么江森在就是楼花呀、Condo 啊、townhouse 的销售方面有很多经验和体会。我觉得呢，我们今天呢，不单单是让他给我们讲讲，就是说他们这几个项目的情况，更重要就是说希望教会我们公司的经济是吧，在客户提出一些要求，或者说遇到一些楼花，不管是位置啊，不管是价格呀，还是说一些design呢，可能不是最理想的时候，我们应该怎么去应对这样的状况？我经常说，没有一个人说我能够把这个楼花这个楼里边最好的楼户型单位都给哪一个人哪一个公司。所以我们怎么样去用我们的销售技巧来教会我们的客人去买不同的户型，那么在不同位置或者说不同的产品结构里，比如说 townhouse 啊，或者说这个mid-rise condo 和 high-rise condo 呢，他们销售之间的技巧在哪里？那么现在就请江森来开始这个讲座，好吧
？OK， 你们生意兴隆，最重要就是身体健康，然后万事如意。The first slide is this is a summary of what had happened in 2019. We map out the sales figures as of November because I haven't got the December numbers, but 2018 November versus 2019 November is an increase of 23%. So if anybody tells you that the market have a downturn, that's not true. When you look at the total price, average price of high-rise is around 860,000. If you look at the transactions in 2018 multiplied by the average price, that adds up to $16 billion. 16 billion. You look at 2019, we're already at 21 billion. It's an increase of 27.8%. That's the total volume, 21 billion. You multiply that by the commission. That's how much money is on the table. That's how much all the brokers collectively, entire GTA, that's how much they earn. Okay? So that's a lot of money. A lot of money. We're the biggest market in entire North America. Okay? So this is a very simple illustration of how strong the pre-construction market is. And we have all indications to think that 2020 will be even better. It will surpass 2019. Okay? Now, on the next slide, we have mapped out some of the downtown core locations. We have the dollar per square foot running off one axis. We also map against the percentage of increase year over year. Let's absorb this. Let's look at Bloor and Yorkville. Okay? Who did any sales in 11 Yorkville? 11 YV. Okay? How much was that? Dollar per square foot. 17, 18. They're over 85% sold now. Okay? So the market is healthy. I've only just a little bit under $1,200. But you know the second half of 2019, all the new projects are well above this benchmark. The takeaway is that in the downtown core, it is getting expensive. But the important thing is that in other locations, it's relatively cheaper compared to the downtown metrics, but the year-over-year increase is double digits. Okay? Through my presentation, I want to implant one theory. It's the ripple. Ripple is you drop a stone in the pond and then it starts rippling through. Okay? The stone was dropped in the downtown core. We have projects like the Well, 11 Yorkville. Okay? We have Minto. We have the Saint. All pressing new levels. And the market responded and they all sold well. Okay? By our metrics, they did well. It's not a blowout overnight because that's not healthy. It means it was priced too low. But it slowly got absorbed. In the launch, it was good, well received, and then it slowly picked up. Okay? Bear in mind these other neighboring neighborhoods. Okay? Because what the rippling effect that we saw in 2019 was the downtown going to unprecedented pricing. And the nearby locations start rising. And that's what we observe. And this trend will keep on going. Okay? Your clients need to know. What you need to know is to understand your client. It's no longer enough just to tell them and say, I have a project. You need to understand what they want. Everybody wants to make money. Okay? That's not the question. The question you should be asking is what is their preference? Everybody has a preference. There are some people that have preference for the downtown core, and they'll pay $1,300, $1,400. Okay? 55 Mercer was just launched this week. How much are they? $1,350. Okay? $1,350, close to $1,400. That's center court. Okay? I'll talk about other people's projects because I'm not afraid. We're in this market together. Okay? So they are pushing higher numbers. Okay? As they keep pushing, there will be this substitution. Buyers will say, hey, I don't have to buy downtown. I want to buy somewhere else. Some buyers will say, I will only buy downtown. Your job is to understand your clients. If you don't understand your clients, if you only keep pushing them, whatever project comes across your desk, you keep showing them. What are you? Are you a salesperson? Are you a professional? No. You're not. You're like any other realtors. You haven't differentiated yourself. Okay? So you guys first believe that the rippling effect is taking place. And it is. And your buyers need to understand that. And after understanding that, they need to make a decision as to what is their subjective preference. Do I buy in the premium location or I buy in the locations that will stand to gain as the ripple takes shape through our industry? That is very important. Now, I want to touch on some of the hot topics that have made an influence in our marketplace. What are they? We first have the mortgage test, B20. You guys who do resale are very much knowledgeable of what these stress tests have done. When it was first introduced in 2018, a lot of people were thinking that the stress test will dampen the market, it will bring affordability back, people will not want to buy, they can't afford it, they're trying to stem demand. But what did happen? Did prices go down? No. No. It just made people defer their purchase. Their consumption, spending power, they were able to buy a $700,000 condo or town. Because of the stress test, they were only able to finance for $500,000. Okay? But the reality is that if you're looking and shopping for a $700,000 condo or townhouse, you cannot even find a townhouse for $500,000. It's just not there. So what happens is that they rent, they defer, they stand on the sideline, and what were they waiting for? They're waiting for the market to show signs of price going down to the point where they can afford. But what happened last 2 years? It never happened. What they were looking for never appeared. And now the buyers who are on the sideline are coming to realization that if I keep waiting, what will happen? I will be outpriced from the market. It'll keep going up. So what we see in 2020 is that there will be resurgence of people who were sidelined, save up a little bit more money. They have no choice but to jump back in. Your job is to educate the buyers so they buy not out of fear, but they buy out of knowing what they want, what they can afford, and where they should be buying in. That's your job, okay? So now, we know the B20 took its effect, and B20, from all indications, it will be here. There are some people that are saying that B20 will be abolished. I personally don't think so. Okay? Because it really undermines the stability of all the mortgages in Canada. And when you look at the financial crisis, how in 2008, 2009, how we were able to walk away from the financial crisis globally relatively unharmed is because the quality of our mortgages is well-founded. Very low default rates, okay? And that is all because the strength in our financial systems. And the banks, the finance ministers do not dare to put Canada in jeopardy. Because once the avalanche of defaults happens, the entire Canadian economy will go unravel. It's a grave implication. So I don't think they will do that. Okay? Now, in the next slide, I share with you the affordability. The lower the number, the better it is. It is measured as a percentage of the income required on a household to debt finance. You know that on the top line here is the non-condos. Okay? I'll give you all these slides. Non-condos is still more money per household income as compared to condos. The takeaway is that condos is still relatively affordable. It will continue to be like that. That is given. So the reason why Cornerstone focused on condominiums, because we knew several years ago when we formed our companies that condominiums, this marketplace, will be a major implication in the entire GTA. Meaning more and more condos will be built, more and more condos will be brought to market, and we want a piece of the action. That was the reason why we started Cornerstone. Okay? So this is good metrics. This is the mass market. There will always be a place for single detached. There will always be people who will buy the $3 million homes, $2.5 million. There will always be. But the majority of the people, okay, majority of people are not in that crowd. Majority are still in the $1 million range or sub $1 million. That's the bread and butter of your business, okay? When we look at the resale numbers are very healthy, okay? We had good sales to listings, low inventory, declining inventory, increasing some pricing. It has been good. And you guys get these on the TREP reports, okay? Now, so we know that the market have been fairly strong. Now let's turn our attention to the rental market, because 80% of all the buyers in condominiums, pre-construction, are investors, okay? Majority of them are investors, so they need to understand where the rentals are going. Here, we have mapped out all the different prototypes. What you notice is that their studio transactions increase, rents increase a little bit, not a lot, okay? And you see the 3 bedrooms increase the most. That's a direct reflection of the B20. As people got out-displaced from buying something, they went into rental. And those young families will not and cannot go into studio or 1 bedroom. They have to go for bigger products. So even from this slide, it's a great tool for you to start analyzing, talking to your clients and say, what are you looking for? Remember, in your business, your clients, they may be served by other agents in the past, but that's okay. It's your job to take business away from other lazy brokers. Seriously. We're in a very competitive environment. Let's not fool ourselves. And all your clients may not be lifetime clients. They may be newly introduced to you. And your job is to impress upon them that you are more professional than the other agents have served them in the past. Okay? So you need to analyze, what do they hold? Do they only hold studios? Or do they only hold 2 bedrooms or 1 bedroom, 1 plus den in between? What is in their portfolio? What is the performance of different product types? You need to use a slide to let them know that appreciation, bigger products appreciate more. Studios doesn't appreciate all that much. Why is that? Because studios is the very, very entry-level products. Who buys a studio? People who can't afford a one bedroom. Okay? This is the lowest lying fruit, cheapest for them to get into the housing sector. If they have more money, by God, they would choose a one bedroom. If they have more money, they will go at 1+10. They have more money, more is better. Most is best. That's human nature. So is studio always the thing to go for? It all depends on what they have in their portfolio. Okay? What do they want with their investments? How long do they want to hold it? When do they turn it over? What is the composition? What is the desires and aspiration of your clients? Those are the things that you have to talk to your clients about. Okay? Now, when we look at the rents across the different locations, we'll also witness something very interesting. We have mapped out the dollar per square foot across all the different neighborhoods. Notice that in this, I have not put down the CO1, CO8 because they would be way above $4. Okay? What you witness in the sales side of the rippling effect also takes shape and takes place in the rental market. In simple terms, is that you have a unit, a one bedroom. Who of you do rentals here? You guys do any rentals for your clients? Okay. Okay. You guys do any rentals in downtown? Oh, rentals? How much is a one bedroom in downtown? 2,200, 23? Any 24? Any transaction 24? 24 with parking and locker? Okay. You're hitting up there. Okay. So you will find, and the metrics is that the substitution is that as the landlord asks for higher and higher rent, the tenant will pretty soon say, I'm all tapped out. Because renters have a fixed budget. They don't have an infinite budget. They will chase up to a certain point, and pretty soon they'll make the decision and say, I cannot afford it. I love to be able to walk to work. That's why they live in downtown. Walking, easy access to work. But pretty soon they come to realization that I can't afford it anymore. So what do? I still go to work, I just live further away. So it always ripples through the main nodes of transportation. Subways, GO trains, highways. Okay? That's how they find. So they'll come to you guys and say, I need to find a new rental. I can't afford it. Can I find a $1,500 for one bedroom in downtown rent? I can't. You can't even get that for a studio now. Okay? So they'll say, my budget is fixed, so I will move out a little bit further. That's how the substitution comes in play. It takes time to work itself through the marketplace, but it will happen. It's happening already. And as prices keeps going up, there will be people who will be displaced from downtown and move outskirts. They're still within the transit nodes. They still can get to work within half an hour, but it's further away. Those are the working mechanisms of how the ripple effect takes place. Your buyers need to understand. Second thing they need to understand is that when you do and you introduce a project to them, the current rents oftentimes will not cover the pre-construction that they're buying. Okay? What do I mean by that? Let's pick on 55 Mercer. Okay? 55 Mercer, $1,350. Okay, a square foot. How much is the rent in the entertainment area? Okay? 2,300? One bedroom. Okay? 24. So even at 24, you will not that service a one bedroom that 55 Mercer is selling right now. That's $650,000. It won't. But that is the current rent. You're comparing apples to oranges. You're taking a current rent applied against the future value of the condominium. You should be taking future rent. And then you ask yourself, how do I know what the future rent is? Okay? Your buyers will ask you. What you need to show them is the trend lines of all the various districts as the rents have been going up. Supply and demand. Let your buyers come to realization that the rents in downtown will keep going up because more and more people will compete for scarce resource. As people compete for it, they'll bid up the price. That's natural market forces. It's not your place to say, trust me, it will go to $5 because they don't trust you. But rather, let them see the analysis. Let them see the numbers. Let them see the year-over-year trend lines and let them come to their own conclusions. You have a much stronger, committed buyer when they're able to come to their own conclusion. And it's not just you saying it, okay? So I have talked about a lot of the phenomena that we've seen that are impacting our marketplace. A lot of things that is creating the questions in their minds. What are these questions? Are property prices too high? Are we in for a bubble? Can prices keep going up? Do we have too many condos? Are people living in those condos? All these are questions that you should be asking your clients, because these are the questions that they have in their mind. And if you don't address those questions, how will you get a sale? How will you overcome their questions? How will you overcome to let them have the confidence that they should still keep on investing? If you can't, you have no sale, no matter what you do, okay? So when we look at the pricing to try to determine if it's too high, is there a demand for it? Will property prices keep going up? We always go back to fundamentals of supply and demand. So let's look at the demand side first. We're talking about demand. The very big chunk of the source of demand is population growth. Everybody here have heard about population growth. No one have not heard about it. But you need to realize, why is there this constant growth in population? And where are people going to? Okay? Of all the people that's coming to Ontario, majority of them are coming to GTA. They're not going to Thunder Bay, to Sudbury. They're going to GTA. Because this is where the jobs are. So much so that we are estimating a huge growth in our population base. When we go into over 10 million people in the years to come, that's a huge demand on housing. Okay? Furthermore, what really fuels the population growth is immigration. Population growth is what you see as the result. The underlying reason is because the government is pushing for higher and higher immigration numbers. Now take a pause. Why is the government doing that?
For the pension.
Exactly. Because of the aging population. As we grow older, as the baby boomers start to retire, they exit the workforce. What that means is that they pay less taxes. As they pay less taxes, the government have less money. So you have two choices. They increase the tax, or they increase the people paying the taxes. Increasing taxes for politicians is a kiss of death. They don't want that. They want to preserve the jobs. So the only other option is to get more people paying the taxes, increase the tax base. That's why the government is not just bringing 100,000. They're bringing 1 million people. In fact, in 2018 to 2019, between August 2018 to August 2019, they brought in over 500,000 people already. Okay? We're looking at, just in 2019 alone, just the 12 months, 313,000. Okay? We have a lot of people choosing to come to Toronto because of jobs, because the people they're attracting are skilled laborers, no longer just getting investors with money to buy a home and go back to Shanghai, Beijing, or wherever they came from. That is not what the immigration policy is. They're going for experienced class, skilled workers. So because of that, we see there is a growth in the demand. To the tune of 55,000 is the demand. But how many housing units are we creating? 38. There is a shortfall of 17,000 housing units in GTA. That is a huge number. Second thing I want to talk about that feeds into housing demand is international students. How many of you guys deal with international students? Show of hands. Okay. it is a huge opportunity. Because every international student, and you see that it keeps climbing from 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. In fact, student study permits, there's no limit on how many could be issued. Okay? There's no limit. So the government could keep on issuing as long as the institutions keep attracting more students. You all have heard U of T have this international studies where they actually go to different countries, do roadshows, and talk about U of T. You may have heard Ryerson is also doing that. They started doing that since 2018. York also does that. Seneca does that. But you may not know, even colleges such as Centennial is also doing that. Humber College is also entering the international student realm. Every institution is looking at international students as a source of revenue. Okay? Don't laugh. It's true. They understand. They understand the economics. And when you look at it, look at all these numbers. Every international student don't come to Toronto for 1 year. Every time they make a commitment to send the kids over here, it is a 5 to 6 or 7 year commitment. Why is that? If they're coming from China, their English may not be that good, so first year is English. Okay? And then they enter a program, a 4-year program. They never take full course load. A 4-year program works out to be 4.5 to 5 year program because they want to ease into it, get the grades up. After they graduate, they go for postgraduate work visa. They want to get status. In fact, 60% of international students decide to stay in Canada. And I venture to guess the number will keep on increasing. You add up these numbers, that's more than 2 million international students floating around in Canada right now. And a lot of them come to Ontario because we have the highest concentration of postgraduate institutions. Biggest concentration. We got U of T, we got Western, we got all these. Waterloo. Around the Golden Horseshoe, we have a lot of universities. Brock. And the list goes on and on. So we have a very huge potential. And that becomes your potential. Because every time an international student comes over here, it becomes a connection. Their friends and family want to find out how is the kid doing. How are they liking it? And the reason the percentage of students deciding to stay in Toronto, in GTA, is because of jobs, one thing. The second thing is that think for a minute, if they, was that a sneeze? If they left, say Shanghai in 2016, and they've gone through 3-4 years of schooling here, and they graduate next year, how well are they able to adapt back into Shanghai and get a good job? Think of the changes that Shanghai have undertaken since 2016. It's changing at a rapid pace. They may not even be able to be competitive. And they go back to their hometown. Cannot find a job. And definitely they cannot get the quality of life that they have here. Air, quality of food. Balance all that. It just makes it much more reasonable for them to stay here instead. Settle down in here. And you also think about that in China. The GDP, the growth is not double digits anymore. It's harder to make money. It's harder to get a good job. It's harder to rise up. So all these factors work for that these international students will decide to stay in GTA. So that's a huge demand. And that is a demand on housing. We now want to talk about the tech sector. In fact, the tech sector is what is really fueling the growth in GTA. It's not just programmers. I'm talking about technology as it applies to every industry. Autonomous driving. Okay? Just down the street, very close to us, the GM have an innovation center. And what they do on Warden Street is that they talk about and explore and research on autonomous driving. Okay? It's in many cars now. Okay? So these are all technologies applied in different industries, and they will keep on going. And where we stand, Toronto, we didn't rank in the top 3 in 2018, but in 2019, we're ranked on the top 3. We have displaced Washington. We're a global player. And the reason is because we have cheap labor. Our labor, because of Canadian dollar, we're relatively cheaper. Okay? But there are more jobs being created here. We have over 80,000 jobs added. Okay? When we looked at, on a global basis, in North America, we're Toronto. We are number 1 in jobs added in Toronto. So much so that we have what we call a brain gain. We have more jobs created than the graduates that's being produced. We are taking talent from US. We're taking talent from LA, Boston, the home of MIT. And we're also taking Washington. This is a huge, huge thing. Okay? You guys remember Amazon? Amazon, world headquarters number 2, considered Toronto. Of all the Canadian cities, there's no other Canadian city that they will consider to be a headquarter to, except Toronto. We didn't get it. But that doesn't matter. What really matters is of all the Canadian cities that submitted a bid, they will only consider Toronto. Only Toronto have the infrastructure to really make it viable. So we stand heads and shoulders above all the other Canadian cities. That's something we should be proud of. That's something your clients should remember and take notice of, because that's where the demand for jobs comes in. Okay? Next thing that I often look at is office. Remember, before you have a job created, you need institutions, enterprise, to come into Toronto, to set up office, to create that job opportunity. So before they can come in here, they have to rent out offices. So I often look at the office and say, how is our office sector performing? We're performing very well. At 2% vacancy, that is really, really good. Whereas in cities like Calgary, it's 25% vacancy. So there's a net gain of new enterprises making the decision to be in Toronto versus any other city in Canada. And that is strong metrics. When we look at some of the offices, you guys may have sold the well. There's actually office buildings there and retail shopping malls. It's not just residential. You looked at 160 Front Street by Cadillac Fairview, home to the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, building another office. And what do pensions fund hire? Accountants, CFAs, CPAs, analysts, managing their money. We also have CIBC, 2 towers, adding up close to 3 million square feet of office space. In fact, when I was selling Sugar Wharf, we talked about CIBC Square. That's directly across from the Scotiabank Arena. Right now, you go down to, how many of you guys have driven down to downtown? You guys need to drive down there. I know we lived in Markham, Richmond Hill. We shop, we dine, we eat around here. But this is a hotbed. If you don't personally go down and take a look at where CIBC Square is, 81 Bay Street is way up there now. In fact, 2 weeks ago, 141 Bay Street just submitted the building application because office don't need to go through pre-sale. They don't. They made the decision to develop an office tower and they put in a building application and they start excavation and they start building. Okay? So right now, of the 8.6 million square feet of office being developed, 75% is already pre-let. So it's not a case where they're building office hoping there'll be tenants. The tenants already spoken for. 75% of the office space. That is huge. So these are the things that your clients need to know. When we take a snapshot of the working people, who are they? What type of jobs is GTA cranking out? We're looking at almost half are office workers. We're not manufacturing. We're not light industries. We're office workers. We're creating ideas. We're not creating a product. We're innovating services. We're bringing technology throughout all the different industries, healthcare, medical, everything, engineering. We're taking information, technology, and applying it through everything in our lives. That is what's happening in Toronto. Okay? Now I want to turn the attention to shallow demand. Shallow demand is something that we know it exists, but there's no numbers on it yet. But it will play a huge, huge impact in our business. What I mean by that, let's take a look at the first group, the millennials. Okay? These are the younger generation. But this generation, aside from the baby boomers, are the biggest demographic profile, biggest in numbers. They will change forever how our industry is being conducted. They are the guys that brought us Uber. They are the generation that were born knowing about the internet, very tech savvy. But there's a challenge. What is happening for the millennials is that they are earning less money than the previous generation. They're risk takers. They have access to the internet. They think they know it all. They think us, as realtors, we're not adding value because I can research on realtor.ca. I can get access to all the information. Every new project, all their floor plans are on the internet. Why do they need you guys to tell them about a project? What value are you bringing to them? And at the end of the day, if you are not bringing value, what will happen? They will still buy through you, but they'll ask for kickback. Because in their mind, you have done nothing for them. Isn't that right? But if you were to flip the tables around, even though they have access to all the information, it's hard for them to make sense out of it all. It's hard for them to connect the dots and realize that looking at their history, their future, what should they do? This is where you come in. I think, in spite of all the information that's on the internet, the more information, the harder it is to make sense out of everything. There's still a place for us. But it's no longer just posting on 51.ca that I'm a VVVIP. That's not good. It's not enough. You need to change your business because this demographic profile is asking for more. You can, of course, ignore this. But if you want to stay in the industry for the 5 to 10 years, you better take notice of this group. The next group are the baby boomers. People that were born in 65 and earlier, this group is a dying group. Okay? I put it literally. They are dying. They're leaving the workforce, taking more from our social systems, but they have a lot of what? Equity. They are the future bank of mom and dads. Everybody will grow old. Everybody. No one is accepted. And everybody have to come to the realization, what do I do with my golden years? What do I do with my home that's free and clear? What do I do with my investments? What do I do to make my next generation a little bit better? I'm talking about generational wealth, succession. I'm talking about preservation of the asset base. I'm talking about all these concepts that you guys need to have a discussion with your clients. If your clients are 50 years old or above, they're in this category. They're thinking about it because whether you talk to them or not, they will keep getting older and older. They cannot stay in their single family home. They just cannot take care of it. It will become a burden. They will have to move into a condo. Sooner or later, they cannot walk up and down the stairs anymore. It happened to my mom and dad. Okay? Everybody goes through that life cycle. No one is spared. When we look at international policies, again, there are risks and rewards, challenges ahead. Those are all the things that we need to talk about. I've only talked about demand. I've talked about demand how because of the population, because of the immigration policy, because of the underlying jobs being created, there will be more demand. What happens when demand increases and supply doesn't increase overnight? What happens to pricing? It goes up. You have nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to go. So if any of your clients think the property prices will go down, there's a bubble, there's a correction, it is all wrong. It's all false. Now let's turn our attention to supply. Are we having more supply? No, actually, with the demand, we have been reducing in our supply. This is the same analogy as what you see in the TREP reports. Okay? Months of supply. Meaning, if we have no more new projects being launched in the market, we have about 6.8 months to absorb everything that's on the market right now. Okay? And that has been on a decline. Okay? When we look at the different combinations, status of projects, those that are under construction, we are going down. Okay? So the supply is not getting more. So much so that when we look at the rental market's vacancy rates, it's all-time low. For past 3 years, it's hovering about 1%. That is not normal. Friends, it's not normal. It is very abnormal. The equilibrium is around 3%. What that means is there is a balanced market. It's neither a seller or buyer's market, it is balanced. We're not in a balanced market. It is a seller's market right now. And what happens in seller's market? Prices goes up because the landlord knows that they can. They know they can. There's scarcity of resource. And real estate is always scarce. It's a scarce resource. So until we bring back up to the 3% equilibrium, there's still going to be pressure on the rental rates. That's why I'm still bullish about investing in real estate. Because I know that the supply will not change overnight. It doesn't get all of a sudden, over a course of 1 week, all the buildings get developed. It doesn't happen. So right now, we are in a very interesting market. People are observing higher pricing. They're trying to make sense out of it. And through my whole discussion, I've been trying to walk you through making the connections so you can talk to your clients as to what is really happening in the marketplace. Now, a lot of your clients may think that the reason prices have been going up is because the builders, developers are greedy. Who have heard of that before? Okay? It's not true. It's not true. They're just here to make a reasonable profit. The underlying is that the cost, the time that they have to invest in the project is getting longer and longer. If you remember, last year, we presented 18 months. Now it's 19 months. As you get longer and longer in your application process, what happens? Your interest on your land gets increased. That's a cost. It's a cost of doing the business. As you have more and more conditions to be met with the city, you have to hire more and more consultants to do more and more reports. What is that? That's a cost. It's getting more and more costly to be a developer. And the last nail on the coffin is the DC, development charges, education levies, Section 37, park levies. All these are increasing. Will we ever see the day where the government goes to all the builders and say, hey, I got too much money, I don't know where to spend it, so I don't need to charge too much in development charges. Or I have so much that I don't need to increase in my Section 37. I have everything that I need. I don't need to introduce education levies. I don't need to have park levies. Will that day ever come? No. It won't come. It won't come. So these costs will just only keep increasing. Why? It's because we looked at the population rate. There's more and more people coming here. So there's more and more demand on hospitalization, EMS, policing. More people driving through the streets in Toronto. More roads need to be resurfaced. More roads need to be built. More of this, more of that. So if your client is telling you, well, I remember my friend who bought a condo in 2008 for $600. Until it goes back to $600 a square foot, I would not make an investment. They could wait because they don't understand what the business is. But they have to wait a long time. They'll wait and keep on waiting because that unicorn will not appear. What they're hoping to see will not appear. It just won't happen. Very simple metrics of the marketplace. Okay, so in summary, I've introduced a lot of concepts to you, not to scare you, but to empower you to understand really what is happening in 2020. There's still going to be huge demands, okay? Prices will keep going up. It won't come down. I guarantee you, because of all the things I've talked about, okay? It will only go up, okay? And the supply is not an overnight solution. It doesn't get addressed overnight. Hopefully, we will get to a more stable and balanced marketplace. But with the huge demand that keeps coming in, and all the jobs that's been created, a balanced market is hard to come by. Okay? It's hard. So there's always going to be pressure on the pricing to keep going up. Okay? Now I want to focus a little bit on some of the new projects that we've got coming up. In about 3 weeks' time, Menkes will be introducing a project in South Etobicoke. It is called Lake in Town. It is a stacked townhomes project, 3 minutes to the Humber College in South Etobicoke. Okay? It's very nice. Okay? It sits in between Mimico and Long Branch, right in between. 3 minutes walk. This, on the map, this is Birmingham. This is 14th Street. Humber College is just right here. Okay? 3 minutes to go over there. Okay? It's a huge investment opportunity. It's very much in terms of products, similar to what you've seen in the Mobilio townhouses, okay, in Vaughan. Very similar, okay? We're launching that. Again, today is not to talk about Lake in Town, but I want to share with you that you guys, as part of the Landmark family, we will be bringing this project to you guys, okay? But remember, you don't start your prospecting and your discussion with your clients only when I launch a project. Why is that? Because if you do your marketing only by the virtue of saying, I am VIP, I'm with Tony, with Landmark, I have access, I'm VIP. The challenge is every agent will be raising their hand, advertising that I am VIP. Everybody. You look at it, 55 Mercer. Everybody is claiming that they're VIP. Whether they have allocations or not, they're all raising their hands. It's like a lottery. Do you want to keep conducting your business on that level? You could. But it's very risky. Because when you have a call saying, hey, do you have 55 Mercer? Yeah, I do. What are you looking for? Then you show them what you have. You talk about it. They say, okay, great. I'll think about it. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call everybody. And then now they have the realization that everybody have access. They can come back to you and say, how much will you kick back? Rebate. 返点. That is what they're asking. Because they're looking at it as a discounted service. Because you have done nothing. Everybody is saying they're VIP. I'm not saying that when the project is launched, you don't market it. You still market it. But you can market differently. Even before a project is launched, you should be starting to talk to your clients. With all the slides that I'll be presenting you, you should be going back to all your clients to do what? Educate them. Why? Because you want to impress upon them that you are the real estate expert. to help them to get from point A to point B. Your job is to pre-qualify whether that particular buyer that you have a connection with in 2019, that in 2020, whether they will be able to buy again. Okay? You give them information. You give them service. And afterwards, you will get two things. Either they will be ready to buy in 2020, then you put it in your back pocket, or if they're not able to buy, look at what else they have bought and try to get control of their portfolio. And last thing you do is ask for a referral. Last thing you do is you talk to them and say, was my discussion about the marketplace of value to you? If it was, we could schedule another appointment to talk more in depth about some of the things I've talked about so that you can know more about the marketplace. And at that time, maybe you can introduce one of your friends, asking for a referral. That is a very, very bricks and mortars fundamental of the real estate business. Asking for the sale, if I don't get a sale, ask for a referral. You should be doing this clockwork. You should be doing this 365 days of the year without stopping. When there's a project launching, you shift your gear to talking specific. But by that time, you have a bunch of clients that you have prioritized as being top clients. Top clients meaning that they have the financial depth to make another investment. This project is the right profile. Okay? Listen carefully. I use the word profile, meaning that you have to understand your clients, understand what their preference, understand the subjective preference. Whether they like downtown, high-rise, mid-rise, they like to be along the main location, the genesis, paying higher pricing, but that's what they like because they don't want to take any risks. The tolerance for risk is zero. And the only way to get into it is buy in the central location. You're paying a price for it. But you're getting in return zero risk because it always starts there. That's where all the corporations are. That's where it's 5 minutes walking to work. People will want that. Okay? It will translate into higher resale values. But your rental yields is going to be low because of the higher sale price. Or is your client saying, I want to ride the wave of the ripple. Let me find a location that is along transit, that as people get displaced from the downtown core, and you know prices going up, they will start looking for alternatives along the subway line, along the major bus routes, along the highways, along the GO stations. That's what they're looking for. Because it's natural. When you can't afford somewhere, you will find somewhere else as a substitute to where you're living right now. That's called substitution effect. Okay? So, Lake in Town is a very good project. And again, in 2 to 3 weeks, I'll come back with all the salient information about this project. Okay? Today is not talking about a single project, it's talking about your business. What you should be doing in 2020. Okay? Next project I want to showcase is South VMC. You may have seen some ads already. It's called Festival. Menkes and Quadwheel is doing a 100-acre master plan development. Mobilio that we launched last year was just one of the 100 acres. Now we'll be showcasing, unveiling Festival. It is a point tower, 60 stories. Between my first building and my second building, I have over 1,200 units. Okay? How many of you guys sold in Transit City? TC 1 and 2. You remember how TC, Transit City, was done? We launched the first building, and within 7 days, even before the cooling off period, we launched the second building. This is what will happen in Festival. We're bringing both buildings back to back, a lot of inventory. This will be a transit-oriented right on the subway at the end in the VMC stop, minutes walking away. But we are creating something different than Transit City. We're creating community. We're creating community that has school, community center, parks, and shopping and retail. That's what Menkes do. They build communities. And we've chosen a very strategic location right on Highway 7 to start this story. It's a fabulous story. So if in your discussion with all these slides, you find that you have a potential client that say, hey, I really don't want to buy in downtown because I'd rather go along the transit lines, then that's the way to go. You look at Untitled, Young and Eglinton. How much was Untitled? Come on, guys. $1,250 to $1,300 on Young and Eglinton. Oh, wait a minute. They're not really on Young Street. Okay? It's actually east of Young. Wait a minute. They're not really on Eglinton. They're north of Eglinton. But they call themselves Young and Eglinton. And that's for $1,250 to $1,300 a square foot. You look along the Young line. Okay? Young and Eglinton is bursting. It's coming up in pricing. Okay? And again, the substitution effect will take place. People will say, I cannot afford Young and Eglinton anymore. I'm going to move. How far along the Young line can you move? Young and Shepherd. What is there anymore? Nothing. Okay? You go along Young and Finch. M to M is your best bet. It's north of the Finch subway. Okay? It's not even on the subway. But they're selling themselves as a subway. And you ask yourself, when will the Young extension go up to Richmond Hill? Optimistic. Okay? With the land assembly that's required expropriation, it may not be in my lifetime. Okay? Okay? I don't know. So it may not. And then so you ask yourself, you ask your buyers to say, how many 10 years do you have to really make investments? Do you make an investment when you're 60 years old and guarantee them in 5-6 years' time you can double your money? By that time, doubling the money doesn't make any difference to them. Think about it. The golden years of making investments is when? 35 to 55. Maximum 60. That's the golden years. You only get 3 cycles in one's lifetime. Because by the time you're 60, what you have is what you have. Okay? Because by the time you're 60, doubling your money in 10 years, it doesn't make a difference. Honestly. By that time, they should be thinking about the next generation. They should be thinking about enjoying their life. What do they do for the balance of their life to have a better quality? That is simple. Okay? So today, I've shared with you a lot of concepts, a lot of challenges. I want you guys to take all those concepts, digest it, and apply it. Starting from today, not in a couple of weeks when I launch Lake in Town, you start talking to your clients, owning your clients again. Deepening the relationship with your clients is the only way to protect your business. Okay? I said it before. 2020 will be a great year. We're going to do more than $21 billion in sales. Okay? We will surpass 2019. Definitely. But what it takes is not laziness. It's not complacency. But it's rather a positive mindset and really work hard. The money is there. You can do the math. There's a lot of money out there. But it's how do you want to chase after that? How do you conduct your business? How do you protect your client base and expand? Okay? That's the challenge. In addition to festival, we also have Express 2 coming. That's along right beside the Wilson subway station. One subway stop north of Yorkdale. Okay? Minutes to York University. Also very, very centrally located. It's in the same neighborhood as Treddy. Same neighborhood as Nordic. In fact, Malibu Investments are the builders behind it. They were the first guys to go into that location with Gramercy Park. They started it all. Now this is the last piece of the puzzle. There's no more projects to be launched in that location. Okay? That is huge. We also have Queen and Church. We're in the downtown. But you ask me how much is Queen and Church? It's not going to be cheap. We all know it. It won't be cheap. In fact, any of our projects launching, it will be more expensive than our first launch. Okay? Because of all the rising price, all the costs. We also have a project, Front and Sherborne. So there's no shortage of projects coming to you. The challenge is, do you have ready buyers for those projects? And again, I challenge you, I warn you, if you start your marketing only when the project is launched and everybody's screaming, I'm VIP, you can fight on that level. Always. That's still part of your business. But why don't you elevate your business a little bit more? Be more proactive. If you can do that in 2020, you have a phenomenal year. Right now, some of our current projects, we have Mobilio, okay, by Menkes. Also in South VMC, we're selling 3-story towns. You have main floor, living room, dining room, kitchen, second floor, 2 bedrooms, third floor, master, plus the rooftop. The entire stack is yours, okay? It's for about $940,000. 8 minutes to Subway, okay? This is a huge investment opportunity because families are looking for stuff like that. People are now, in the years ahead, 3-4 years down the road, there's no other choice. Because all the other townhouses around the VMC is going to be north, close to Weatherford. You cannot walk to the Subway. You have to take a bus and commute into Subway. Having that flexibility will be huge, okay? Now, we also have K Square. The West Tower will be releasing, okay? So we're selling through that. 401 in Kennedy. Great location for people who work in that area, okay? In Markham, Vendôme, we are releasing the top penthouse collection shortly. Give us a couple more days. And then in Sugar Wharf. Sugar Wharf, we're still selling phase 1. Combining of the East Tower and West Tower, we sold through everything already with your help. We're just releasing the Crown Collection, penthouse collection in the East Tower, okay? And we start selling now, okay? So these are some of the projects that we have on the board right now, okay? Let's make 2020 great, okay? You guys have been phenomenal.